Okay, well, how did that work for you? And as you're thinking about it, let me just recount a story that happened to me that kind of brings some of this to fruition a little bit. Remember, Harlan said that we're not going to assign a meaning to the movements that we see. We're just going to be aware, as I mentioned, that something in their internal state is shifting. We want to be able to start categorizing based on this. Okay. Some years back, I went to Cuba. And when I went, I got to the airport, and it is a very, very different experience. There's machine guns in the airport by the security people, and I felt very out of my element. As I walked along, I came to a security guard, a security checkpoint for my luggage, and the person looks at me and does this. And I immediately am nervous and somewhat embarrassed. I'm feeling like the guy's coming on to me. And I'm looking away. I'm trying to be polite. I'm in a foreign country. I don't know how to deal with it much, but I'm very uncomfortable. So I get through that area, and now I have my bags, and I'm going along, and I'm going to go rent a car. And as I get to the car place, the guy sees me coming and goes, and I think, oh my God, 2 in a row. Wow, this is, and I'm really uncomfortable. I don't quite know what to do. Okay, I get through that, get the car, and our friends come to meet us. Thank God I'm saved. We go along, we take a drive. I need to stop and exchange some money, so we go to a bank. As I go to the bank, the door opens, and the guard in the door looks at me and goes, and I'm like, man, this city, I mean to tell you, it's like everywhere I go, is my fly undone? I mean, is something wrong with me? What's causing this? And so, okay, I get through that. We go to our friend's home. We're all sitting around when in walks one of our other friends and does the same thing to the guys, to the person who owns the home. They both go, the other guy goes, when it hit me, I knew for a fact those two guys were as straight as an arrow. I mean, they're married happily. Everything is, they're just, I realized I had been making a horrible error. I had, because of my cultural background and conditioning, assumed that this gesture meant something different than it meant. How ridiculous. And yet I made that error. Why? Because I did exactly what Harlan was talking about, assigning a meaning. This is why it's so important not to assign a meaning, to be blank, if you will, and we're going to elaborate on that in just a minute, but to just go into a neutral state where you can watch what happens and just recognize that any change you see is because of an internal state change. And what is the internal state change that happened when these guys were going? They recognized a friendly. Wow. They recognized a friendly in me and sent a signal that said, I'm friendly. And I responded poorly. So let my poor reaction save you a lot of pain and trouble in the future by simply not assigning meaning, staying in a neutral state, and simply making note that something has shifted and become curious as to what that is. But right now, I'm curious about the exercise that you just completed.
And your experience with it.
And to that end, I'd like to do a little question and answer, because I know what some of you are thinking.
And by the way, anybody who has access to this set, don't they also have access to a forum where they can ask questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to go through some stuff. Kendrick's going to go through some things that you may be experiencing. But if there's something that's not coming, isn't explained, log on to the forum and ask your question there. And if you don't have access to the forum, you know what that means, don't you? It means that you probably didn't get these recordings directly from maxpersuasion.com. Shame on you.
But then we've been embedding things to that end that they'll get to experience a little bit later. But only for those that did it wrong, and they know who they are. Okay, so look, some of you have some questions. I know, because Harlan and I have taught this to many, many people, and we get the same questions. So let me hallucinate for a moment. Some of you went out into a store, you saw somebody, and as you're walking along, you waited for them to do a hello, and they did nothing. They ignored you, and they went right on. Or you saw a bit of a hello, you tried to play it back, but they looked down or looked away, and they would not interact with you, and you felt kind of funny and bad. Let me explain two parts to this. Let's start with the last one. Why did you feel funny and bad if that happened to you? The answer is that as they sent a little bit of a hello and you tried to respond, they cut you off. They ignored you. That's not polite. What would our mentor call that? He called people names that weren't very polite like that. He'd talk about the fact that you know, if you don't say hello, you're not being a very good social person.
Basically,
you're not.
It's rude.
Exactly.
Imagine that you had a barbecue at your home, and someone came up to you at your own home and said hi. Would you not respond to their hi? Would you just walk away? I don't think so. I think you would know that that's being polite. And so when people are broadcasting their hellos to you, not to respond is just plain rude.
And so if this happened to you and you felt a little bad when somebody ignored you like that, imagine how you've made others feel when you haven't known how to do this or you haven't been conscious of it, that now you're going to be able to take things differently and to be able to make them like you instantly at a distance before you even get to the point of shaking hands. Second thing is, what about the fact that people ignored you altogether or refused to do any kind of hello? What's going on? All right, the answer is simpler than it looks. The answer is, if you're attempting to interact with people that you generally have no business interacting with, it will feel to them like an interruption, like someone's trying to do something to me or to be closer to me than I don't know why. And if the person is shopping, as an example, then what may happen is the person is like, I'm busy, I'm trying to get this done, I've got a mission, and I don't have time to stop and be helpful right now or even to talk. I need to get this done. But if you do this to a person in the store that's working in the store that needs to respond to you, you'll be blown away at how this hello will get that person to give you hugely greater service. In fact, you may have a little problem on your hands, like Harlan's wife, in which they begin to tell you their entire life story, and perhaps you don't want to spend your whole day listening to the story. Although you'll find it amazing if you do listen and if you do talk with them, because you'll learn a whole lot about how people interact like this. So these are a couple of the things that you probably experienced. I had people go out on the street, for example, and try this to people that are literally walking by on the street. Some of them had some success. A lot of them did not have success and came back and said, you know, I don't think it works. Well, the people on the street they were going someplace, and having a friendly response to someone that they knew they had never seen before on the street may have caused them a degree of uncomfort or something. Although other people went out on the street and it worked.
And
so
there are a lot of factors to take into effect, one of which is cultural. So, for example, if you're on an elevator in New York and you attempt to say hello to a stranger who got on the elevator, it could get you slapped, because people in elevators in New York, the etiquette is not to look at one another, but to look down at the floor or to look up at the numbers. New Yorkers don't look one another in the face very often. But if you're in a small town, having that New York attitude might be considered quite rude.
let me give you a great example of that. Where I was raised, people don't look at each other either exactly like that. When you walk into an elevator, people look away. Well, I found myself visiting a Latin American country and needing to go see a doctor for a routine check. And when I walked in the door, everyone said, "Buenas, buenas." I about dropped the stuff that I had in my hand. I was like, why are they all talking to me? What's this happening? I didn't understand. Then I went and got in an elevator. Everyone said, "Buenas," when I walked into the elevator. And if you don't respond back, you're considered rude. And I thought, wow, how charming. Everybody here says hi. Everybody says hi all the time. And they actually have time to talk too. It's just really interesting. So depending on your culture and where you're from, like Harlan said, there's a lot of additional conditions that could apply. But for the most part, you're going to find if people have a reason to need to talk with you, this just works like gangbusters. This just clicks and you've got it every single time. And when you get good with it, it works like this all the time.
Okay. There are other ways of saying hello that do not have anything to do with the eyes. I'll tell you a story. One of them has to do with mirroring the person's walk. If a person is walking to you 50, 30 feet away, pay attention to their gait and start walking towards them with their gait. Be prepared for some interesting responses. Now, I didn't believe this. I was skeptical. And so one Saturday morning I was walking to the synagogue and there was a guy who was probably 75 feet away from me. And I said, this is a great time to do it. And there are two paths we cross through a park. I was walking on one path and he was over on another path. We weren't even walking on the exact same path. And I just started walking with his gait. Within about 5 feet, and we were at least 50 feet apart, he looked up, veered across on the grass, came over and said hello to me and started asking me about my family, even though I barely even knew who this guy was. Just as if we were long lost brothers. That's how powerful this is. Or you can find a piece of behavior that they are doing. So, for example, if there's somebody and they're sitting at a bar and they're doing this with their finger and their eye and they're doing it for a period of time, and you do the exact same thing, don't be surprised if they look up at you and sense it, at which point you continue the process. The ways of saying hello are only limited by you. Now, what happens when you get really good at the basic level and then you start saying hello to groups of people all at the same time, like a hello with this finger matching what that person is doing, a head tilt hello to someone else, a facial tilt to someone who's doing it, matching someone else's eyes. People's hellos are unique. We demonstrated some normal ones. Kenrick told the story of the hello in Cuba. I've seen people do incredible things. It's not our job to judge them and go, oh boy, that's the strangest hello. I've seen a person tilt their head that would give me whiplash, but that was their consistent hello. I've seen people, when they say hello, they bob their head 3 times consistently. That was their hello. Our job is just to celebrate them, enjoy them, be with them in what they are doing, not judging, oh, you're doing your hello all wrong. Okay? But I am going to tell you that this technique is one of the core techniques of what's doing. And when you get this technique under your belt, it's going to just enable you to persuade at a higher level than you've ever been able to persuade before.
There's actually stuff that will fall out of this that will really help you. But look, let me just address one more issue, and that is, if right this minute you have yet to get the unconscious hello, if it doesn't yet really make sense, if you don't feel it in your gut, so to speak, that's fine. It took me, I remember going to stores 6, 7 times over the period of more or less a week to really get it, to get to the point of, now I got it. But then I remember, calling Harlan and saying, Harlan, I think we're really making progress, but, I'm forgetting to do it. And Harlan says, yeah, I know, me too. We got to remember to do it. So we go out and we remember, and we tell ourselves all the time, remember, remember, and pretty soon it gets to be second nature. As surely as when I put my hand out for Harlan, he'll put his hand out to shake with me. Okay, it's as second nature. Men have this hardwired. They see a hand coming, and there it is. I don't even have to see his hand or look at it. I know that if I stick mine out there, his will come up. Okay, and it's just hardwired. This needs to be hardwired into you as well. And when it is, you'll know it, you'll understand it, and you'll go, wow. Okay. Now,
Kenrick, have you ever been to Florida before?
Yes.
Have you been to every state in the United States?
Since I know what you're doing, do we want to make sure that our hands are being seen in the camera?
We'll go over that again.
We'll
just play.
Have I been to what?
Have you been to every state in the United States?
No. I don't think so.
Have you been to New York?
Yes.
Have you been to Connecticut?
I don't think so.
Okay. Have you traveled extensively in Europe?
No.
Have you ever been to Europe?
No.
Okay.
Took me a second there.
He's not sure. Are you married?
Yes.
Okay. Were you born in Brooklyn?
No.
Were you born in the United States?
Yes.
Are you a male?
Yes.
Do you own any pets?
Yes.
Do you own a dog?
Yes.
Do you own a cat?
No.
Did you ever own a cat?
Yes.
Did you ever own fish?
Yes.
Do you like eating chicken?
Yes.
Okay. I'm asking him a series of yes and no questions. We're going to come back.
Really?
We're going to come back and we're going to adjust the camera so that you see it perfectly. The reason I did that without the introduction was just to kind of show you how you could slide into this and it not be artificial. Now, asking people whether they like chicken or not and whether they have cats and dogs probably doesn't come up in Persuasion, but the idea was to show you.
And I'll show you a shortcut to it that I don't think Harlan likes.
I don't like it. So let's take a break. We're going to adjust the camera. Don't go anywhere because we're going to be right back. Okay, we're back and we're focused, and we hope you are focused too. So pay attention to what's going on, and we're going to tell you that I want you looking in the following places. Number one, I want you to watch Kenrick and his responses, especially head and face, okay? And I want you to watch my responses to him as well as to pay attention to my fingers, okay? And away we go. We're going to do this simply. And I'm going to ask Kenrick a series of questions. Kenrick, did you ever study NLP?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So Kenrick nodded yes. I nodded, acknowledging his nod, and I also raised my right finger. Okay? Which, of course...
Now I want the opportunity to do this in return.
Okay.
Good. Yes, I got it. Yes.
Okay, that was the other.
Yeah. Okay. You thought. Move on.
Okay. So I asked him a question. He gave me yes. Kenrick, have you ever jumped out of a plane in a parachute?
No.
Okay. No. So I shake my head a little bit no, and I lift my no finger. Okay. Kenrick, have you ever gone snorkeling?
Yes.
Did you like snorkeling?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm acknowledging with a yes. I'm not doing this. Kenrick, do you like snorkeling?
Yes.
Okay. We don't do that because we're contaminating his answer.
That would be contaminating?
That would be contaminating.
Great.
Okay, and Kenrick did it right back to me, asked me a question, and raised his yes finger. The biggest challenge we find with this is that people have a hard time thinking of the questions that they should be asking. You are over-analyzing it.
I don't think it's hard to ask the questions.
You don't?
This is too good. You're too sharp.
Okay.
So most people would have gone no, to which I would have anchored.
Okay. The bottom line is that just get comfortable asking simple questions. Okay? If this is a persuasion situation, questions would be, have we ever met before? And if the answer is yes, have you, and watch Kenrick's responses. Kenrick's answering them. Have you ever been to my office before? Okay. Are you, if I'm a Toyota salesman, have you ever owned a Toyota? Okay. And Kenrick's answer is he's a Toyota person. He's owned several Toyotas. So the bottom line here is ask simple questions. You don't, and ask questions that are yes and no. Don't say, do you prefer spring or autumn? Okay, that's not a yes, no. You can't calibrate that. The reason you want to calibrate their yeses and their nos is because if you ask a question, they're going to give you their response even before saying it. They're going to give it to you on an unconscious level. Now, if you ask them a yes or a no, they're going to also answer the question. I don't like to ask that. I like to ask hypothetical questions like, I'm wondering if this makes sense to you. And they've answered their question even though they don't necessarily need to articulate it. Or you might say, and as you listen to what I'm saying, I'm beginning to wonder whether this makes sense to you on the inside. And Kenrick is giving me a yes signal. Okay? So this is extremely powerful and elegant and gives you real, solid visual indicators of whether the person is with you or whether the person is not with you. If the person is giving... So, Kenrick, now that you've heard what I want to say today, are you ready to buy this car? And so he didn't give me a yes. He gave me a whatever. So I just ignore the thing. So do you think it would be a great idea if I get the financing guy out here to start drawing up the papers? Fantastic. Now, Kenrick is not giving me yeses, and I'm just plowing on
Freight
ahead.
train.
Okay, because we have a really great special on leasing right now, or we have a zero option where you don't have to pay anything forever. Just drive the car, so I could write it up as a sale and get my commission because I don't even give a crap whether this car is appropriate for you or not. So I'm going to bring the guy in so I could just start spending my commission check because I haven't made anything today, and I hope that's okay with you. Okay. And people go on. People ignore the client or the prospect sitting there telling you, no, don't go further.
But if he'd have stopped when he said, I'm wondering if, now that you've heard what I've said so far, if you're ready to buy the car today, and I didn't give him a yes, he might have then said, or if there's some other things that we need to talk about first, presupposing that it's going to happen, but it's a matter of when. And I say, yes, in fact, I want to talk about, I like this car, but I'm wondering if this other one would suit me better. Ah, really good point. And
okay.
He's
So
in the game still.
if you're proceeding and not waiting for the feedback that this person is generously giving you, you are so screwing up as a persuader that, remember when we slapped ourselves? It's time to take the other hand, because this is the no hand, and slap yourself the other way. Because if a person is telling you non-verbally that the answer is no, take that information and run with it. They're doing you an incredible favor. They're telling you, hold it right there, you need to adjust what you are doing. It's very easy to get yeses and no's. Do you think we should run through it one more time?
Yeah,
Okay, how about you?
I'll do
give
it.
to me?
Sure. Harlan,
No questions about kitty porn.
okay. I don't want to get you in trouble. So, Harlan, look, this one, does it
And that lady last night?
that you had?
She really
You're
was,
gonna give
she
me,
really
Harlan.
she really was my wife. The other one.
Yeah, I was going to say, which one? Okay, enough. Harlan, does it rain as much as it did this morning before we got started here often?
This is the rainy season in Florida.
So
Notice there was no yes, there was no no. Sometimes you don't get a yes or a no. Just go on.
I'm not losing my stride. Okay, so this is pretty normal for this time of the year.
Yeah, it's pretty normal.
Good, okay. And Harlan, was it difficult for you today when you came in the office?
I got soaked.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so far, you see what we're doing? I cheat. I'm going to tell you how I cheat in a minute. But
First do the exercise, then you can tell them to cheat.
all right. All right. Harlan, did any of your kids object to you coming in today?
No.
Okay. And were you this morning really ready to do this?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. I got more than I need now. Now, I don't have to go on and get a bunch of yeses and nos. All I need is precious few, okay?
We recommend that you check each one
Right.
at the beginning. Okay, Kenrick and I just need one. Kenrick only needs half, but
No.
I'll tell you about that in a second. But we recommend that you get 2 yeses and 2 nos
Right.
and make sure that there's consistency. If the
When you're
person-
learning.
If the person gives you an answer that you weren't looking for, like, oh, well, this is the rainy season and so forth, just acknowledge that answer. Great,
on.
and go on. Okay, don't go, oh, shit, could you just answer me with a yes or a no? You know, just be human. Have the grace to take wherever they are and just go to the next level with it. Okay? Now, let me back up and tell you a story that happened to me quite recently. I do hellos and calibrating yeses and nos with virtually everyone I meet these days. It's automatic. Hello, yes, no, got their yeses and their nos. And people do unusual things. I remember meeting a guy from England, and his yeses were shaking his head on a diagonal. Okay. No problem. I can do that too. Right? You don't judge what they do, you just take it as a gift and you move on. I met someone who didn't acknowledge the hello, and when I asked yeses and nos, the only thing that I can give you is that they did not answer. There was a total incongruity between the yeses and their movements that calibrating the first question, the second question, the third question, and the fourth question, none of the answers were alike. And I just smiled and went on, and inside I calibrated, this person is extremely dishonest. I told someone saw what I was doing, they were observing, and they said, oh, did you get the yeses and nos? And I said, this person is extremely dishonest. They didn't want to acknowledge my sensation. Oh, you don't know what I'm talking about. We later found out that this person was extremely dishonest, running a huge scam. Trust what's observable here. If someone, and on a simple question, is not giving you clear yeses and clear nos, or when you ask the questions and every single time you are getting, junko feedback, okay, or deliberately, is this the first time that you're in Florida? Okay.
More or less.
Okay. Was it raining the last time you were in Florida?
My memory isn't real clear. It could have been.
Yeah. When you start getting differences and there's no consistency, watch out, okay? Because I'm going to trust the responses that I'm going to get to this really, really well. And my information saved someone from financial ruin by knowing that this person was so dishonest.
So, look, one of the great things about doing this is there's a few. First, supposing, like Harlan was demonstrating with me, supposing now I said to Harlan, so Harlan, do you feel like you have all of the things you need in order to move forward today and make this purchase? And Harlan gives me a signal of some sort, okay?
But it's not my yes signal.
Right. So therefore, what am I going to do? I'm not going to push any further. I have, in old-fashioned sales language, floated a trial balloon, okay, and it didn't float. Okay, I don't like old-fashioned sales stuff like that, but basically I probed a little and I didn't get a good response. So all I have to do now is go back, aim harder at the criteria that we taught you on the first day, and get him back into the swing of it again. Or to even ask him, Harlan, it seems like we've been doing real well together as we've been talking, but something still is maybe not clear for you in this moment. Could you help me understand what that is?
I'm not sure of just how practical this is.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure that this is very helpful to me.
Sure. Harlan, one of the great things about these skills is that as you become clear about how they are practical and how they're used, and you have your own experience with it, and it settles into your gut and you feel it, it'll be a question that you'll forever answer internally by saying, wow, yeah, I understand. But you need to have the experience inside first. Do you know what I'm saying?
Still not quite clear.
Okay. Let's do a couple of exercises where I'm going to have you experience the power of what I'm saying right now. Can we do that?
Oh, that sounds better.
Okay. You see how I just kept rolling with where he was until now I'm going to do an exercise with him and he'll be able to see it. But it didn't throw me. I didn't feel like he's giving me resistance. I'd get all internally bent out of shape or feel like I'm throwing off my game plan. But how did I know? Because I was not getting yeses as we talked. It's that simple. Now what if I did get a yes? I'd go right for an escalated, whatever my next escalated move is, closing, an appointment, whatever it would be that would be next on my agenda.
Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go back to that last little interchange that Kenrick and I did, and I want you to watch what Kenrick was doing while we did that interchange, because chances are you missed it. So go back, watch this, just whatever, this whole little 2-minute thing that we just did. Go watch it and watch what Kenrick is doing. Sneaky guy that he is. And when you come back, we'll explain what he was doing. So just go watch it. Go ahead, come on. It won't take you about a second.
We'll wait.
All right, we're back.
And here we are. Did you do it? Yes, you did. Okay, so what did I do?
Well, they should answer. We're
Okay.
listening. Okay.
Speak up.
Speak up. Is that when Kenrick wanted a yes, he raised the yes finger, anchoring the yeses that had come before, trying to get me to be more inclined to say a yes. When I didn't respond, he put it away and calibrated some more and working on information until he started doing. But each time that finger, as he got closer, was ready to go into the yes to help me to the next step. But respecting that if he's not getting the correct nonverbals, this is not, raising your finger is not going to totally eliminate an objection, so the person is saying yes to something that's not congruently appropriate for them. So, for example, are you ready to spend $16,000 a month for my new Ferrari that I'm selling you today? And I raise the yes finger. But he's giving me a no. Okay? You're not going to overcome something that is just impossible for the person to do. So be aware of that.
Which leads me to the cheat, which I told you Harlan doesn't necessarily like. So you'll just zero right in here on the truth, and let me help you to understand the different side of this. Let me explain to you. Harlan likes to do yes and no. I do too. As oftentimes when I do this, and I definitely want you practicing to do it, because you'll get it. Later on, you can adapt this or not as you see fit. Okay? I don't always do it, but sometimes I like to do this. Look, what I'm really wanting to do is discover the discrete difference between yes and no. That's what I want to do. Okay? To that end, if I get one of them, and in particular I want the yes, then I know, because I can, all the time I can ask Harlan, are you with me, Harlan? Okay, great. I got the yes. I know he's with me. Harlan, we've just covered three real important points. Do you understand how that applies to you in your specific situation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm getting my yeses. I know he's with me. I'm moving on. I don't have to stop and go back yet. Okay. He's right with me. We're moving on. What if I didn't get the no response? In other words, what if when I started, I only elicited yeses and then just moved into the presentation because that's what I wanted to do? What if that happened? Well, you could think two things. Your first thought could be, well, you won't know when Harlan's saying no. But yes, I will. Because anything less than a yes in my model of the world is a no. So if I get a yes, I know to keep moving. If Harlan answers me with less than a yes, but not a full-on no, like this, Harlan, I've just covered three things with you. Do you understand how this applies in your business, in your life? Okay. He didn't give me a full-on no in the way he normally would. But that sure as heck wasn't a yes. Do you see my point? It was not a yes. Therefore, I know, since I didn't get a yes, I need to go back and figure out what's going on with him to get to the yes.
Now, here's what you don't do. You don't start calibrating again. You don't start going back to the yes-no questions because you already got their yeses and their nos.
Right.
That doesn't mean recalibrate. It means change what you are doing.
Yes.
The whole process of saying hello, the unconscious hello, and yes and no flow into one another. This takes place at the beginning of the persuasion encounter. Okay? You say hello, you get their yeses and their nos. Their yeses and their nos are typically not going to change. Okay? You don't do it right before you're, quote, moving them toward the close or to a decision or so forth. It's done, hello, the beginning. We're going to demonstrate now from the very beginning the hello into the yes and no, and you can see just how simply this works. Kenrick, you want to be the persuader or the persuadee?
Doesn't make any difference. As I win, tails you lose. Which is it?
Heads.
I win. Okay, I'll be the persuader. So I'll be looking at you. You turn away and look at me, and we'll get started.
And we're going to do this slower than it usually takes place so that you can follow.
Hi.
Hi.
That's been a long time.
Oh, have we met before?
Yeah, in one of the seminars back. I believe it was in 2000. I think it was in Florida.
Oh. Okay.
Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
It's been quite a while, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been a long time.
In fact, have you been involved with any of this material since?
I've been studying it a lot.
Fantastic. How's it working for you?
Just fantastic.
Wow. It had any real problems?
Just remembering to practice it.
Yeah. That's really normal. Harlan, do you live in Florida?
I do.
Fantastic. And I thought you said something to me last time about living in Maine.
No.
Ah, okay.
Never.
Never. Okay. So always been Florida.
No.
Ah.
No. Okay.
Oh, well, interesting. Anyway, it's really great to see you here. I'm really surprised. I didn't expect this.
Oh, good to see you.
Yeah. I've got one no, and I've got a few yeses. It's good enough for me. I don't need to go any further.
That whole interchange, with practice, 30 seconds. Would you take 30 seconds of your time to have incredible ability to read the person for the rest, not just the rest of the persuasion session, but for the rest of your life? Is that something that you'd be the 30 seconds of, other than the usual typical of, so, hi, it's really sunny out there today. Do you like the weather?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, great, because Florida is known for its sunny weather and its beaches and something like that. It is a great day to come in and buy a car. And so let me show you some of the cars that we've got, and I'm betting you're going to find something that you're really going to like. Let me show you my favorite, okay? Do you know how many salespeople do exactly what I just demonstrated, and they wonder why their closing percentage is in the single digits?
Now, one of the things that you saw when I did this is I'm trying to do it real slow. This happens so fast when you get good at it. And when you try to slow it down, it's like you're tripping over yourself.
Let's do it a little bit. Let's do it faster. This is the speed that it usually does. You turn around and, well, not that saying that I do it faster than them. It's just we're taking turns demonstrating.
Yeah. Okay, ready?
Yeah. Hey, Kenrick Harlan.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
I was at you did a seminar here. Was it Breakthroughs Persuasion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, there were a lot. You did that one twice?
I did. Actually, the recording didn't work on the first one, if I remember right.
So you did it twice?
Yeah.
People really liked it, didn't it?
Yeah, hugely.
Okay.
And you got to remember to say Kenrick's Breakthroughs in Persuasion, because the other one is registered, and I heard about it.
Oh yeah, someone had a problem. So, did that person got upset and brought it to your attention?
Yeah, they weren't real angry, but they wanted me to change it.
Did they take legal action?
Oh no.
Okay. That was it. Done.
Bammo! It was that fast.
Okay. And it could have been even faster, but there's no reason to rush, because this is just normal stuff, and what looks like normal stuff is really giving me the material to work on Kenrick and persuading.
It's like criteria. Criteria sounds so normal. And the words they're using, it seems like it's such an easy thing for the client to say. But you know, based on how to listen for it, that what you're receiving is solid gold. And you know how to use it back to get them to do what they want to do.
Now let's take what Kenrick said with criteria and build it into the yeses and the nos.
And let's do it all at the unconscious level.
Right. So if Kenrick picks up on, he knows my criteria for why I do this stuff. Kenrick, run through a couple of different criteria and and drop in the other one and see what's going on.
Harlan, I think while I'm here, we should do a couple of more recordings. Because I think it would really be good to try to stretch ourselves a little bit. What do you think? You think it'd be good to stretch ourselves for one of these another type of recording we could do?
Yeah, possibly.
Or, look, since I'm here, we could go out and spend a wonderful evening listening to some really old acid rock. That might be fun to do while I'm here. What do you think?
I'm not really that into acid rock.
Or, we could take what we're doing right now to an even greater level that would make us unstoppable. And it would turn our clients into unstoppable machines.
Even though I know where he's going, I can't control the reaction. Okay? So when you do this with elegance and so forth, the people are letting you know when you're at their criteria. So remember we talked about non-verbally getting it? If you know the criteria of your group, and you start talking about what other people's criteria were, and you now have the calibration skills that we're talking about, you're inside their head without them ever being aware with it. You can even test other criteria to see if they're important. Okay? Fun was not really high on my criteria.
Acid rock certainly wasn't.
Okay? But the bottom line was, as soon as he got to my criteria of unstoppable, my face broke out into a grin. So when you're working with someone, we promise you, they're giving you more feedback than you could ever possibly imagine. It's kind of like the quarterback handing you the football on the 20-yard line and saying, run for the goal, and the other team is way back and in the end zone, giving you an 80-yard head start. Now, you can either take the ball and walk at your own pace, stroll into the end zone and score a touchdown, or you could just hang and wait there, waiting for the hordes of people to come and tackle you and pound you into the ground. Which one would you rather do? Choose wisely now.
Or another sports example is, imagine if you'd never seen a game of baseball before, and you had no idea that the pitcher and the catcher communicate with signals, however they do it. Okay, never having been either. I don't know, but I've seen it, and so have you. All right, so imagine you don't know this. So you're looking at the guys out there standing in the field, and you're thinking, how do they do this game? This is interesting, you know? And you're watching the people out there. But imagine if one day someone told you, watch what happens when the pitcher and the catcher, when the next guy comes up to bat. They go through a series of communications that let them know what to do with that guy that's standing there ready to bat.
And if they don't communicate, and the pitcher throws a curveball and the catcher doesn't know that a curveball is coming, there's going to be a problem because he may be out of position, may not expect it, he may get hurt, or the ball may get past him. They have to know what the other person is doing. And let me break with a little bit of a story about baseball since Kenrick introduced it. When people think about baseball, sometimes their mind naturally goes to baseball records. Who's hit the most home runs? Who's had the most hits? Who's had the most strikeouts, either as a pitcher or as someone up the plate? You go to just about any kid and they can answer these things. Which team has most consistently played in the World Series? And a lot of baseball records are important. But and records are made to be broken. But there's one record that hasn't been broken and may never be broken, and that is Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. And you know why that one impresses me the most? Because it's about consistency, having excellence on a day-to-day basis. Anybody can go out on any given day and maybe with dumb luck hit the ball into the outfield and get on base. But to do that 56 games in a row is going to a really high level. If you want to be a great persuader, it's not enough to get an occasional ball into the outfield. You have to be on that DiMaggio-like level where you're doing it every single day with every single person that you meet. It's not enough to be practicing these skills while the video is on and we're stopping you, and hopefully you're listening, you are listening, and going out and doing it. What's really going to count and take you from beginner to intermediate, and from intermediate to advanced, and from advanced to unconscious elegance is that consistency of every single day practicing these exercises. Now, there hasn't been a single exercise that we've taught that is complex. And some of you are probably sitting in the back of your mind going, this is too simple. Well, don't try and make it any more complex. Just go out and practice it. And day after day, you will get to the next level. And pretty soon, you'll be unstoppable too. We'll be back with the next section on the next DVD.